Hi, I'm Jennifer Von Stein, Chroma's resident artist, and I'm going to talk to you today about the concept of color temperature using Atelier Interactive Professional Artist Acrylics. Now, when I use the term color temperature, I'm talking about warm and cool. And frequently, artists, when they set up their palette, will say that they're using warm and cool colors. What does that mean? Well, typically, the concept of warm colors are going to refer to the colors on this side of the color wheel, your reds, your oranges, and your yellows. And your cooler colors are going to refer to your greens, your blues, and your violets. And that's what I have set out here, your basic color wheel of some crimson, some cadmium yellow medium, and some French ultramarine blue. Now, it gets a little bit more confusing when you think about the whole idea that color is always relative. You always see color in relation to other colors. So just because right now I've put out my basic color wheel, that means that these colors could be warm, they could be cool, depending on how I'm using them, depending on what they're next to. So this color wheel with my crimson, my cadmium yellow medium, and my French ultramarine blue would typically be considered warm color wheel. And you may be thinking, well, wait a second, didn't you just say blue, violet, greens, they're going to be considered cool colors? Not necessarily, because within each color family, you can have warm and cool versions of each color. Let me demonstrate. This is crimson. Definitely it is a nice cheery red. It's a good primary red, but really there are no true colors. You know, there is no basic 100% red because I just put out some quinacridone magenta, also considered a red. But look at the difference between the two. This one, a nice, beautiful, transparent color, definitely leans more towards the violet side, as opposed to my crimson over here. You can see it definitely has more of that yellow and more of those orange tones in it. And this is an important concept to think about because let's say I wanted to mix an orange and I mixed it with some of my cad yellow medium. The color that I'm going to get here, because I'm mixing a warmer red and a warmer yellow, is going to be very different than if I decided to mix some quinacridone magenta, and I'll take a little bit of this warmer cad yellow. See the difference in the oranges? My quinacridone magenta, cad yellow medium, orange, this is more of a duller, muddier orange versus my nice bright orange that I made with my crimson and my cadmium yellow medium. Warm colors using a warmer yellow and a warmer red is going to give me a better orange, while this using a cooler red and a warm yellow is going to give me a muddier color. So if you're thinking about trying to mix your secondary colors, your greens, your violets, your oranges, think about where they fall on the color wheel, because using colors that are warmer to make your warmer colors, your yellow oranges, your orange reds, they're going to be a better combination to use than just using cooler colors plus warm colors. That makes sense? It really comes to play when you start seeing all this. It'll really come together. So what I have right here, I've got my warm yellow, but I want to have a cool one. So I'm going to put out some cadmium yellow light. When you compare cad yellow light to cadmium yellow medium, you can see the difference. This one appears to lean more towards the green side. Let me put out my blues. I've got my French ultramarine blue, and now I'm going to put out some cerulean blue. Definitely this blue also leans more towards the green. So you can tell that I have some warmer as well as some cooler color combinations that are out there. So let's say I wanted to mix a violet. I could take some cerulean blue with a little bit of my quinacridone magenta, and look at that beautiful, beautiful violet that's coming out. And if I wanted to, let's say, mix another violet using my warm violets, I'll take some French ultramarine blue with some crimson, and see how this violet, definitely it still has those violet undertones, but it just looks so much more muddy and not as intense as the violet that I made with my cool colors. It doesn't mean that this color is any worse. It doesn't mean that this color is better. It just means that they're different, and you have to think about how you're painting and what colors you're trying to make in order to mix it properly. Now, I had mentioned, that colors, of course, are relative, and you can kind of see that. But let's say I wanted to limit my palette, and I wanted to maybe just use this crimson. And let's say instead of putting out a quinacridone magenta, I decided that I was going to use a cadmium orange. Now, compared to cadmium orange, crimson definitely becomes much cooler. Even though in this scenario, when I'm looking at crimson and quinacridone magenta, the crimson is warmer compared to the quinacridone magenta. It all becomes very relative, deciding on what colors you have on your palette and what colors you want to mix. So this kind of gives a good overview of the whole idea about warm versus cool colors. So I encourage you to put some colors out onto your palette, do some mixing to figure it out, and you'll be able to take these principles with you when you do your next painting. For more on color temperature and on interactive acrylics, please visit our website at www.chromaonline.com.